All right. So, hey y'all. Hey Dee and Marlon. I want to thank y'all for coming on to give your testimony. I'm excited to hear it. I know this has been a long time coming and finally we were able to get it set up. So, I'm going to go ahead and get myself out the way and just let you guys have the floor to give your testimony on this Faith It Friday of what the Lord has done for you.
Okay.
Sure. You want me to go first, huh?
You can start. You can start from when we met and stuff. I guess.
when we when we
I'll
met.
jump in.
Okay. Okay. Um, I, I think it was 1999
Mm-hmm.
when her and I met. Um, I actually went to school and I got an interview for a job in a town called Newport News. Honestly, I didn't know anything about Newport News. I had no clue what I was getting into. And my cousin and I moved away, and he became affiliated with some folks that played basketball. So those folks that played basketball would continuously ask me to come. And what I found out is actually that it was a girls' team. Now I had a certain image of women that played basketball, so I didn't want anything to do with that. But he continued to push me to try to go. Eventually, I decided to go, and that is actually where I met Deanna. And honestly, she was in awe as soon as she seen me.
Oh. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm.
And the rest is history. Now, on a serious note, though, that's where we first met. Um, it initially started as a friendship,
Mm-hmm.
and from that friendship, we dated for
Maybe
we were
about
an item for about 6 years, 7 years,
before
seven.
marriage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 7 years. Uh, we got married in '06.
Mm-hmm.
Got married in '06,
All
and
right, you better get that date right, Marlon. You better
hey,
get that date right.
Right.
I got a good story for that. Like I got a little flip to that, and what it is I'm not keeping track. It's for life. So
I know that's right. Good way to clean that up. I
that
know
was
that's
good.
right. Come on
That was
here.
good, wasn't
It was good, sir.
it? So I mean we've been an item ever since, and I will say that for anybody that's considering getting married, anybody that is married and going through something, it is not easy. It is not easy. What I've learned is there are particular parts uh, in a unison that are put into each other, and we tend to fight each other and not use those skills that each other has to our advantages
Mm-hmm.
to move forward. So we actually attended. We took it seriously. Marriage counseling. We did marriage builders. We did the literature. We did the
That was later
exercises. We
on.
did the discussions.
Later on.
I mean, we were fully invested. Now I must say that when we
Okay, that
got
worked.
into it,
Go ahead.
oh, you go ahead, man.
No, I was gonna say the marriage builders was later. I said the marriage builders was maybe 4 years ago,
Yeah.
5 years ago. I never heard of marriage builders before then, but if it was one, we didn't know about it. But I'm gonna start from back up a little bit. So I think it took us a long time to get married because maybe I believe it was just like I would say I wasn't ready. He might have been ready. I wasn't ready. We both come from backgrounds where it was like a nasty divorce, or his situation that parents separated. Mine was a nasty divorce, and it left me kind of like broken and all. So that's what I was talking about when we went to lunch a little bit. But yeah, I would say it took that long, 6 years or so, because I don't think I was right. I guess I was thinking marriage would be like what my mom went through. So I was scared. I wanted to take my time. But so yeah, from 99 to '06, we dated, and we went through some stuff in between there. He came back home and I was there. It was, crazy, weird stuff where it's like I didn't know, we don't know if we was gonna be together anymore. And our 20-year-old at that time was young, maybe 2 years old, three, something like that. Um, so I actually ended up moving up here to get away from Newport News, and to be with him after he came here. And maybe a few years after I came here to Greenville is when he proposed. So I think it was perfect time. And people say, "Why y'all together so long? Y'all to get married when you don't have to explain everything to people." But it's like it wasn't time. So let's see. The marriage builders was something just basically, I would say it fell in my lap. I was at work at TD Bank, and I'm not sure, we was kind of going through some things then, but so, I don't know if you ever met Jessica Duckett, but she had came to me, and at first we was going to a life group of Jason, the Lintons, Jason and Alicia Linton, and the life group turned into marriage group. A couple months later, we didn't know what it was, and we was like, okay, let's go ahead. I think it'll help us. So that marriage builders actually helped us a lot in ways that we thought, I don't know if he thought, but I was thinking like, I thought, we knew a lot. Little did I know, not we didn't know half, but we learned a lot from that. So before that, we went to a few marriage conferences that Pastor Ron and Hope had, about two or three of them. How many? Three of them?
I think we went to three of them,
Three
at
of them.
least, at least three.
So during those two, I would say every one I could say I healed in some way or another in each conference. And then the marriage builders helped too. I'm just glad we invested in our marriage, because if we did, I don't know. I don't know if it would be a strong after going through the things we went through. But I would always say invest in your marriage. Don't worry about shoes, clothes, and all going. All that all the time. Travel, we love to travel, but investing and learning more how to be, better for each other. I would say that's a big thing in marriage.
I know one of the points I want to make is, I mean, truth be told, I was the reluctant one. I felt like I had all the answers, even though I came from a situation under my parents that wasn't necessarily great. I looked at them and I said, well, I'm not them. But honestly, it wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough. I had to subject myself to teaching and gather some understanding, and it paid off tremendously. I mean, one of the biggest tools that we pulled from the information that we received was communication and how to communicate with each other.
And
Those
love language.
and those barriers of communication, you would not believe how many marriages that breaks down. So it's to me, I think behind loyalty, I would say communication for me would have to be number two. Have to be. You got anything else?
What questions you got, Reese?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know you guys said that you have been through a lot, and I know, like, just in marriage in general, there's things, it may not be, each person's situation may be different, but in general, without going too far into y'all's business, like, is there something that you want to share that you went through that maybe y'all didn't know if it was gonna work, or and then just God did something and saved the day? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
You want me to cover it?
I'll jump in.
In general, I think we stayed at each other's throats because of our differences.
Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up in a home where my mother was like a drill sergeant. So there were certain things that were top priority, and my wife came from a more relaxed environment where it wasn't necessarily a priority. So you had
From
two
the
different
cooking, cleaning,
extremes.
cooking, and everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he can't. His you can finish, but sorry. He came from his grandma and mom making him come in the kitchen and help cook since he was a little boy, and mine was total opposite. Get out of the kitchen. We cooking. So when I met him at 18, he was already like cooking full meals and all that. I'm like, wait. At first, I didn't believe he was cooking until I saw my own eyes.
Let me mention the taste of the food.
Oh
That's
my
part
god!
of what got on me right now. Just putting that out there. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
now
ahead.
that he put that out there, he gonna have to cook, and we gonna have to come
Right,
eat.
right,
So that
right,
was the invitation.
right. Like he did say that, like as far as cleaning, he was like really, 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 what's the word I'm looking for?
OCD.
OCD. And when we had our little one, it wasn't as she started to grow, we had bigger house, and it was just like that's where you could tell the differences in the upbringing and more of that sort. Trying to think what else as far as the background different cooking and cleaning. Coming to a mutual place, I guess.
Yeah, and I'll say coming to a mutual place was difficult because like when people come together out of separate upbringings, then you come into this thing thinking what I came from is it's gonna be it, and then the other person does the same. So it's kind of humorous to talk about it now, but I just realized, how we were at each other's throats for some of the dumbest things. Ultimately, what matters is, when it's all said and done, is two things you're doing. You're creating an example for your children of how this thing is supposed to work, and then number two is you in this for life. I mean, when you want to die and be buried next to that individual that you call your wife or husband. I mean, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And there's so many things that are selfish about us that we just continue to fight each other. And I encourage anyone that's at that point to just step outside of yourself and just look over yourself and see how you're responding, see how you're acting, see how you're treating that other person. And if you do that, I can assure you that you'll just realize that, some of these things we fight over don't matter.
And when he say fight, he mean disagreement, fuss. For somebody to be like, oh, they be fighting each other.
No, that's so good. Like, you was talking, all these bells and whistles that are going off in my head, and I wish I had paper in front of me, but I don't. So I'm gonna just say or ask you, was there something that happened what is it that happened that filled that in to where you weren't drill sergeant with her anymore and she wasn't completely laid back or, with everything?
I'll tell you all day. It was the marriage conference. Under Apostle Ron, and one of the things that he taught was the differences between men and women. He talked about the basic needs that we develop and lack as we grow into adults that create dysfunction into our adulthood. So it was the information we received from there, and I'll be quite honest with you, it was repetitive. But I'm telling you, he would put a spin on that thing to where it hit you way different the second time you hear it. So, I would say having an open heart and being willing to listen and committing to, just getting along, and working this thing out. That's what it took. That's what it took. And my wife is the one that kicks things like that off. When we went to Marriage Builders, I didn't want to go. When we did the marriage conference, I didn't want to go. I didn't feel it was necessary. But when we walked away from these things, it was so rewarding. And now I'm at a point in my life where I can't do without it. I mean, nobody has it right at any point all the time, regardless of what you've gone through. You can always subject yourself to some teaching to help your situation.
That's so good. And I think, it may be a commonality with men. The men folks don't really want to, they don't really, feel it necessary. I've seen that. So it's so good because Wes and I were talking just the other day about how the backgrounds, can be different. And then coming together and trying to bridge that gap. And so we talked about how, we bring what each other has seen. So I brought what I saw coming from a 2-parent home. My parents had been married for a number of years, and then he came from a single parent home, with just his mother. And so he had examples like, at church and things like that. But we both brought what we thought marriage was, which, can we just be honest, we don't know what it is until we get into it and we experience it. We can hear about it and think we have some knowledge, but you really don't know until after you say I do and after you have, been married.
Right.
So I can remember, like, at the beginning of ours, not even the beginning, but before we got married, we were like so naive. So I don't even understand, like, what would we argue about? Like, I don't even foresee any arguments or anything. Well, first of all, we don't live together yet. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that was just so good how you said that. And then we talked about taking those two perspectives and then coming together and building your own.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to make it what it is for you guys. So that brings me, I guess, to my next point or question. So how do y'all feel about, and I probably already know the answer to this. I know how I feel about it. How do y'all feel about comparison with marriages?
Wow.
I ask this because sometimes when people get married or getting ready to, or they're at the beginning stages, they look at other marriages that are seasoned
Right.
and they're like, "Oh, my marriage isn't, why isn't my marriage like that? I want to be like, and they're doing that." So how do y'all feel about that?
You want to go first? Babe?
I'm thinking how the best way to say it. But you're right about the comparison. And I think that's probably what I did when I was so nervous to get married in the first place. Like I said, going from 99, being together all the time, knew I wanted to be with him, but wait until 2006. He proposed 2005, but 2006 to get married. I guess there's different ways to look at it, because I guess the way I was looking at it was my mom and my dad, and then my grandma and my granddad. 'Cause my grandma and my granddad, when they were together, it wasn't like like affection, and because he was like a, what is it, a mariner, something on a boat. He was gone a lot,
Longshoreman.
longshoreman. And when they was together, I don't remember seeing any kind of like, it was just like boring. I ain't trying to be funny, but it looked boring. like like going out to the store, I didn't see them do none of that. Hold hands, none travel, none of that. So I was that's all I really had to look to, other than my mom and stepdad, and that was a whole different situation. It was different too, but and then him, I guess he, where he came from. But I think, like I said, I think he was ready way before I was, as far as the whole marriage thing. But looking at it that way, and then looking at other marriages, I really didn't have too many marriages to look to that was positive, really. So I guess I was just like, that word scared me.
Yeah.
But if you mean like, I know what you mean. You mean like other couples looking at others and be like, well, we don't have that, or I don't have that. I see what you're saying, and I'm just trying to think of the best way to explain that.
Yeah, like getting it to where, you're not, you can used to say, "Oh, okay, well, they have a good," first of all,
Yeah,
you never know what's going on behind closed
that
doors.
part. Yeah, I was gonna
It
say.
can look so sugary sweet, but behind those doors, it could be hell. So we don't know. But like for new couples or couples that are about to get married, like I guess I could rephrase it. What would you give as advice to them looking at seasoned couples and how their marriage is cultivated and like mature and things like that? Because see, my thing is, and I don't want to talk too much, but I feel that sometimes people get into marriages wanting their marriage to be an adult when it's a newborn.
Oh wow.
You gotta nurture that thing and help it to grow and get it to that point. When you come into a marriage, your marriage is a baby.
Right.
Yeah.
You gotta get it to maturity. And it is a process. It's not gonna happen overnight. But how do you feel about, I guess that's the question I'm asking. How do you feel about, what would you say to new couples or people maybe say they've been married a while and their marriage is still a baby?
Mm-hmm.
You know what
Mm.
I'm saying? Like, how would you address that?
I would say that the experiences are one of the key things that are different, from couple to couple, and those experiences, sometimes can change you, and I'll say in positive ways, sometimes negative, but your experiences are yours individually. So it's very difficult to have different experiences and then look at somebody else's situation and model it after that. I mean, prime example, you have families that are mixed. They come into it with children. So me and my wife having, being the sole parents of our children, how can we look at that situation and say that we want it that way? We have no idea what they've gone through. But what I will say to do is to just subject yourself to teaching and don't rely on images,
Right.
because images can fool you every time.
Mm-hmm.
Every time.
Like honestly, we talk about this all the time, but the marriage builders we went to, we didn't really get deep in it, because I really didn't think they can handle some of the stories, like, because I heard one of them say something like, "Oh, I want to be able to stand or be there or stay there if this happened," and I'm just like, okay, well, y'all ain't ready for the stories we have, so, you know, I don't know, like, I guess it compares to that, because what if they do have that and they, they seem to be so in love and deep and this and that. But if they had that, is it all thrown in the trash can? Are y'all willing to work through it? Are y'all willing to get counseling?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when it's all said and done, uh, I'll give a prime example. I won't use any names, but you know, I just remember going to an event with another couple, and that were having issues. But me and my wife, we were in a good place, and that the individual looks at me and says, "Man, you're terrible. You won't even hold her hand." And I'm like, that's a dumb comparison.
Right.
It's a dumb comparison.
Right.
So let's not look at the outside. Let's subject ourselves to the proper teaching, and let's work on ourselves.
And the
Let's
one
work on
that said it
ourselves.
wasn't acting as if he was married anyway outside, so it was really crazy. But
Yeah, I wasn't gonna go that deep.
no, I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, it's dumb to compare.
It is.
And I think in each marriage, I would compare it to, if you hold something that you can share with others, I consider that a gift, and I feel like God forbids us from comparing our gifts. So I mean, it's totally unnecessary. But what we can do is we can share what we can bring to the table, and what I may be able to bring to the table, another couple may be more experienced in that, and they can bring that to the table. But never look at any one situation and think it's just absolutely perfect.
Right.
You'll find out that it's not. I mean,
Yeah.
every single time.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's something that you're not seeing.
Exactly.
So yeah, I heard somewhere that comparison is the thief of joy.
Yep.
And I just find that to be very true. Um, so last thing I want y'all to speak on, if it's okay,
Yeah.
Sure.
seasons of marriage. What y'all have to say about seasons of marriage? Because we know it's not just
Right.
time all the time. So in those seasons where, it's cold outside or the leaves start falling off the trees, what do you do during those not so great seasons?
Think about
That's
that.
a good one.
It is. Different. See, because I think Pastor Ron spoke about that one time.
Yeah.
But I forgot the way he's worded it.
So
Yeah.
while y'all think, I'm gonna just go ahead and shout out Pastor Ron and Pastor Hope at Redemption East and all they're doing for married couples. My husband and I have not gotten to experience any of the marriage conferences yet because we're newbies, but we certainly look forward to it. So shout out to, if they ever see this, shout out to Pastor Hope and Pastor Ron at Redemption.
Right.
Definitely. I would go back to what I said about evaluating self. Just if you're
trying to get it right, sorry.
If you're in a season, what we tend to do is it's not favorable or not, not a great season. What we tend to do is point at the other person and blame them for it. But what we need to do is evaluate ourselves, and that's one thing that I'm not so good at, but she's good at. Because what she does is, we've been an item for, I mean, years, and familiarity can tend to set in, and then we actually just lose focus and we just start living without actually acknowledging that other person that's laying next to us every night. So we got to continue to show them that we appreciate them, and we got to try to keep this thing fresh. I mean, that's what we have to do. But the only way you're going to do that is if you can train yourself to snap out of life sometimes and just step on the outside and look in and evaluate yourself.
Yeah.
And if you're not in a good season, I think it works best if both individuals can look at themselves. And if you communicate with your spouse about, maybe a deficiency or something in them, we just have to be, mindful of how we communicate that. It cannot be in a pointy fashion. It's got to be.
Should go to God first, really.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely do that. Definitely do that. But also, just, and I heard it 100 million times, and people laugh sometimes when folks say it, but those "when you I feel" statements, oh my gosh, they work.
Yeah,
They
it
work.
does. It does.
But that's what I got to say about that. I don't know if you got anything else.
Um, I think like what I touched on when I was with you. Let me see how to get this right. When we was speaking of healing yourself, healing yourself is key. Like a lot of people think they got it all together, or they think they just everything's good to go. But a lot of people don't really search and look and see. Maybe think of some things, and if they are not broken, but some things they didn't really deal with properly from the past. Not just the divorce of parents or uh is a lot. Like when he spoke of the different, what is it called? The different
Basic needs.
basic needs, and it was a lot I was lacking. So when I really finally sat down and talked to God, and over time, like he dealt with me with that, with word and healing, I could feel myself getting stronger and stronger in those areas and ways. So I really think that's key, really, right there, because like you said, when people come together, they think, all right, we're ready for this, whatever, we good. When they really they need to, have tools and different things. They need to learn constantly, continuously. It should never stop. So once I saw that and went to the conference, and going to conference made me seek out other things that'll help us, with marriage. So when I heard marriage builders, I jumped right on and like, okay, we going here.
I'm gonna do a spoiler, and I hate to do this because you've never been to one. So if he sees this, I apologize in advance. But basically, those basic needs, I'll just give a few examples. They were affection. I believe one was attention, protection, and then it was, I can't cover them
what
all.
is it? Encouragement, acknowledgement. Did you get acknowledged? What is it called?
Yeah.
Did they tell you, things like I love you and you're great, and what's that called? Affirmation, stuff like that. All that kind of, I'm trying to get this phone right.
It's good, but it's good.
Okay.
I got a good angle. Okay. Those basic needs, it actually puts you in a situation where you were forced to acknowledge the ones that you didn't receive growing up that could have potentially brought you into adulthood with all kind of inefficiencies. So what we were told to do was to acknowledge those, and then we were to write a letter to our parents about those inefficiencies, and then we were made to take those and nail them to a cross.
Yeah.
Nail them to a cross.
It was deep.
I'm telling you, it messed me up. It messed me up.
You about to have me over here messed up. I'm like, I didn't know tissue by me. I ain't even about to do it today. Man, that's powerful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So,
and not only, I'm sorry, but don't forget where you stop.
Go ahead.
And not only doing that, when you nail it, when you put it on the cross, is like you're forgiving it, and you checking yourself in your heart. No grudges or anything. It's like you put it all on paper and gave it to God. That was deep right there. I needed it.
And it's one more bomb. I'm sorry. I got a big mouth.
They'll be ready with God.
But one of the things also that we learned about those needs that don't get met is that when we get married, we tend to try to force the other individual that we're married to be those.
Yep, to fill us.
So by nailing those to that cross, we gave it to God to be that, because that spouse of yours is not going to be everything that you didn't get growing up. And what we do is we place that expectation on our significant other, and it creates dysfunction. It creates separation, even divorce. So that exercise, and again, I apologize for spoiling it, but that was life-changing.
Yeah,
it was completely life-changing.
That was good. I believe that somebody that's listening, somebody that will listen, needed to hear that. So thank you for sharing, because I'm just like, oh my gosh, like that was so good. I'm like, all right, when we have the marriage conference. So but yeah, that's so good. There was a thought that I had. I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, something that he said about loving your spouse. Pastor Ron said about loving your spouse. He said, I love you. And he said, leave it at that pretty much, because as soon as you say, I love you, because now you have attached conditions to it.
That's right.
I was like, man, he be dropping them bombs. Like,
he does.
So I don't want to cut y'all off. We have plenty of time. But I just wanted to know if there's anything else y'all want to cover, anything that you want to touch on that you have not.
I would say that when we okay, so for newlyweds or people who's looking to get married, I would say try to pray to God and seek someone that can really kind of what they call it, get into your dirty laundry to kind of help you to understand what it's going to take for marriage. Because some people I've noticed, even ourselves, we went to marriage what is it, pre-marital counseling. He was talking like we know it all. He was like, well, y'all been together that long. I don't know what it is that I can help y'all with or something like that. I'm looking like, huh?
Somebody gonna kill us over that.
Who is? No, it ain't.
Go ahead. I'm just.
But no, it's just I would really say, I'm just thinking of it like, say if I had a little sister or a cousin getting married, I would really, really, just like we just did with you, I would really try to, get them to understand what they're going to be signing up for. Because it's not like I really don't like to hear people just talking about the wedding, and not what's after the wedding. It's like that's the big moment, but you say what about after? It's like they're bored, or it's like, well, what's next? When they don't really have no kind of idea of what it takes.
Yep.
I would say that would be the main key right there. Other than that, maybe some kind of, some like healing of the heart, to kind of go into that thing stronger than I did. And other people may have.
Yeah, and I guess one thing I would say is to try to fully get to know that other individual. There are some things that are going to come out later, but you want to see them, when they're broke and don't have money.
Right.
You want to see them when they don't feel well.
All of it.
You want to see them when they get betrayed.
Mm-hmm.
You want to see them, when you want to see them when they're frustrated with you, because I feel like people enter into situations, where they unfortunately they may be getting abused or something like that, and they're with somebody who they don't know. So I would say take your time and make sure you see this person in every season of their life,
right,
and try to fully get to know them. Like I said, it's not going to be 100% because you learn each other.
Yeah, that's time.
Sometimes it seems like daily, but just fully get to know this individual.
That's so good. Y'all are awesome. Like I'm so glad y'all came on because we haven't even had a chance to talk, like this about marriage and stuff like that, or really just had the opportunity. Well, Dee and I did the other day, but just to kind of discuss some things. And thank you guys for coming on this platform, to help other people.
Yes.
So, I know testimonies and words that we give can be freeing to us and also other people. So I know that you guys are going to help a numerous amount of people, especially, those who are watching and those who will watch. So I would be in the wrong if I didn't ask you guys, and you can refuse me if you want, but if you wanted to just leave a quick word of prayer for those couples who may need prayer.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this opportunity just to use our lives and our marriage and our experiences just to strengthen others.
Yes, Lord.
We know that unity is so important.
Yes.
We know that it's fulfilling. We know that it actually feeds behaviors and habits of children. So we just want to be able to be a light.
Yes, Lord.
And hopefully we can create lights that can create more lights. And just show people how to function as a unit. And just let us thank you, God. And I'm getting off of the topic of marriage, but we thank him for the excommunication of coronavirus.
Yes, Lord.
From our household, from your household, from our bodies, from your bodies. We thank you for life, health, and strength. We thank you for everything that you're providing. And we thank you. And we're so thankful that we don't want to take anything for granted.
Yes, Lord.
Let us wake up each morning in a spirit of gratitude.
Yes.
And let us acknowledge you, and let us be grateful for everything that we have. Because if we put that in front of us, God, then nothing can topple us. Nothing can affect our mood. Nothing can unmotivate us. And we just want to lift you up today. And not just today, many other days, until the day we die. And Lord, we thank you. We give you all the glory, honor, and the praise. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. All right. So thank you guys so much for coming on again. If you got another testimony or something you'd like to leave, you know to hit me up.
Yeah.
So thank y'all.
Definitely. I appreciate it. Definitely.